Hi, yogis. I'm Lizzie Lassiter here with a simple three-pose restorative yoga sequence for you. The idea behind the sequence is inviting ourselves to downshift our nervous system from sympathetic arousal to parasympathetic quietude. This would be a great sequence to teach in your restorative yoga class or a great sequence to practice at home when you have about an hour. I've designed it as a low prop restorative sequence, as low as possible. What you will need is one bolster, one block, one strap, two yoga blankets, one light throw blanket from your couch, and something to cover your eye. You'll also want a timer so you can time yourself. I'm not going to lead you through the sequence today. I'm just going to talk through the three different poses, show you the setups briefly, discuss what they're good for, who they're not good for, and then you can practice this sequence on your own. Last thing I'll say before we get started, hopefully you are subscribed to my newsletter, which you can find here at lizzie.yoga. I send out sustainable self-care every Sunday. The newsletter is called Rest with Lizzie Lassiter. And please like and subscribe to this YouTube video, to my YouTube channel. Any references or links will be in the caption below. Thank you so much for being here. The first pose we're going to do together is called One Blanket Backbend. Super simple. I'm also going to show Two Blanket Backbend. They're basically the same pose. It's just an increased amplitude depending on the body you brought with you to the yoga mat today. The second pose is going to be an elevated legs up the wall pose, which is an inversion. Ladies, not appropriate if you are on the first couple of days of your cycle, heavy bleeding, or if you're pregnant. Also not appropriate if you have congestion, glaucoma, uncontrolled high blood pressure, if it doesn't feel good, okay? Use your good common sense, people. Number 3 is shavasana. Pro tip, always end a restorative sequence with shavasana. It is a equalizing, quieting, soothing pose, perhaps the most soothing pose for the nervous system that we have in yoga. And because the head and the heart are on the same level in shavasana, it's really great as the final pose in a sequence. It puts our nervous system in this kind of, sometimes I call it flat mind, the sense of a horizontality, as opposed to the vrittis, yoga's chitta vritti nirodha, we know from the Yoga Sutra of Patanjali, the vrittis, the fluctuations that we experience throughout our day. Another way we could describe the vrittis perhaps would be sympathetic arousal, sympathetic overload, the monkey mind. All of these poses you can find in Mama's book, Restore and Rebalance. I'll put my Amazon link below. Let's move to the mat. One blanket backbend is a very gentle extension for the spine. We spend so much time sitting, hunched forward on the phone, on the computer, that this is a really nice counter pose to our lives. So you either take one or two yoga blankets and you fold them from Tadasana of the blanket, which is in the book, Restore and Rebalance, how to fold like that. You fold it in half. Okay, and then you have the curved edge. You're going to do one or two blankets. One is just gentler. You can also, if you're teaching the sequence in a class, you can have your students do one blanket backbend for 5 minutes, come out, and then two blanket backbend for 5 minutes. This line here is going to go at the lower tip of my shoulder blades. I'm going to put on one of my third eye masks, which you can find on my website, lizzie.yoga. These are designed by me and hand sewn in Austria. So you sit with your bum firmly on the floor. You come back slowly, lengthening the rib cage away from the pelvis, and you find the back bend. Pelvis is on the ground, knees come together, arms come wide, chin is softened down, eyes are covered, and you stay here. Breathing for 5 minutes. To come out, you roll to the side, pause, and come up to sitting. The second pose in the sequence that we'll do is an elevated legs up the wall pose. So my pelvis is going to be lifted onto the bolster. It's also a back bend. That's why this sequence makes sense that we start with this gentle back bend and then we move to the slightly bigger back bend of the wall. Remember, one of our principles of sequencing that we say at Lassiter.yoga is the effect of any pose is directly related to the pose that came before it. So because we've begun to open up the front body with this simple back bend, we'll be more primed for it when we move to the wall. Here at the wall, I've placed my bolster with some space so that my bum can back bend behind the bolster. And I've taken a blanket, yoga blanket, folded it once lengthwise from Tadasana of the blanket. Then you're going to wiggle yourself in. The trickiest part is finding the right distance from the wall. You definitely don't want your hamstrings to be stretching here, number one. So you don't want to be too close. And you need that space so that you can back bend. It's a back bend here. It's almost as if the weight of your pelvis is drawing your C7, T1, the base of your neck is just beginning to lift up here. My back lower rib, my first rib in the back, is supported by the bolster. And I'm going to take strap, wrap it around. This is not to hold my legs together. It's to keep them from falling apart. And then I take my second yoga blanket and I put it kind of for padding and for warmth. You can add more warmth here if you're practicing somewhere where it's cold. You could put a whole nother blanket on top of yourself. Okay, the eyes are 100% covered here. Darkness is one of the most powerful signals we have to the nervous system. The arms come comfortably open, palms up. Oh, heaven. And you stay here for 10 to 15 minutes, depending on how your feet feel. If the feet start to fall asleep, then you come down. When you're ready to come down, just bend your knees, sliding the soles of your feet down the wall. And you can wiggle out, or you can roll to the side. Taking time in transition. Press yourself up. The head is heavy. Encourage yourself, your students to take some time after each pose to observe the shift in the nervous system. Do not rush yourself or your students into the next pose. These slow, sweet, interstitial moments in a restorative sequence are so valuable. Letting yourself bask in this empty space without input or output. You are not consuming anything. You are not doing anything. You're breathing. You're in touch with your interior interoceptive experience. And you are in relationship with the sounds that you hear around you. Now we're ready for Shavasana. In this sequence, what makes sense is a shavasana variation called Stonehenge, where the knees and lower legs are elevated. The low back is slightly in flexion, very soothing after the two backbends that we've just done. Stonehenge Savasana starts with 2 blocks that you place symmetrically on your mat. You take your bolster and create the Stonehenge shape. Then you're going to fold the blanket for your head support. I'm going to put a link in the description below so that you can watch a different video where I go through how to do this restorative head support. It's also in Mama's book, Restore and Rebalance. Make sure your knees are fully supported here. Turn the calf flesh out. Then I have a blanket here ready to go for warmth. It's just a blanket from my couch that I bought in India years ago. And I'm taking another yoga blanket. This is optional, but can feel good. Fold it in half here, and then I'm going to put it on top of my belly for a little bit of weight onto the belly. So as I come down, I come onto my elbows, I lengthen my rib cage away, adjust head support. So this blanket now, I'm going to kind of tuck around. Oh no, reach up. So this blanket for warmth is just draped over, and this blanket is tucked around my pelvis. I feel really held here. My lower back, my sacrum is scooped a little bit and rounded without effort against the floor. I'm going to cover my eyes. Open the arms wide. Last few adjustments to my physical body. Before I become still. Savasana is about becoming an introvert. You're going to set your timer for 20 minutes. That's why we take such care with the props to create a comfortable physical environment for the body, so that the physical body in a way can drop away. And we can concern ourselves in the pose with the energetic body, with the bliss body, with the breath. When you're done, take a long, slow, deep inhalation. Exhaling. Moving slowly. Bend one knee and then the other, pressing your lower back against the floor. Roll to the side. And press up to sit. There you have it. A very simple 3-pose restorative yoga sequence to downshift your nervous system. Thank you so much for your practice. Please, please, please like and subscribe here on YouTube, and find your way over to lizzie.yoga, Lizzie.yoga. That's where you can subscribe to my free newsletter, Rest with Lizzie Lassiter, and you can look at my custom third eye mat. Big namaste to you.